So I have this 14-inch Bradford Pear piece that I never cored out, and it's dry enough to turn now. So I'm going to core it and then turn all the bowls. So I'm going to start with my 11-inch core. I'm making a bowl that's going to be about 10 inches in diameter, and then I'll do one more in between with my 13-inch core, and I'll probably cut that one about 12 inches in diameter. So let's get this one cored out. Okay, so I've got the 13-inch knife set up, and I'm going to go down to 1 inch, within 1 inch of the bottom of the main blank. So here we go. Oh, excuse me. Don't forget to put your tailstock up. Trust me, it's a bad idea. There we go. Much better. So the idea of this thing is to save wood, not time. So take your time and let the knife do the work. And there's the second core. That'll be a beautiful bowl. Now I can get started on the big bowl. Alright, so I'm going to start out with my 5/8 inch bowl gouge. It's for my Turner's Edge, my robust Turner's Edge bowl gouge, and it is my favorite gouge. So I'm going to work on shaping the outside of the bowl, and then I'm going to move on to the inside. Alright, I've got some cracks in here. They're superficial, they don't go all the way through. But I'm going to put some black CA glue in them because I like the way that looks with this Bradford Pear. Alright, so the outside of the bowl is where I want it. I'm just going to sand it now, and I'm going to use my Rotex RO90DX. As much as I think Festool tools are obscenely overpriced, I will say that it is a good sander. I don't think it's worth the money, but it is a good sander, and it will do an outstanding job on the outside of this bowl. I start with 60 grit, and I'll work through the grits all the way up to 400. I'm not going to show you all of it, I'm just going to show you a few seconds. Alright, so I've got this one outside sanded up to 400 grit. It was a sick tree, it actually died. Whatever this is, probably what killed it, but man, it looks good. I got the cracks filled with the black CA glue. Yeah, this will look good once I put my General Finishes bowl finish on the outside. So I'm going to come around, now we're going to do the inside. We'll try to get this one finished up. So I'm back to my robust Turner's Edge 5/8 bowl gouge, and I'm going to take down the inside of this bowl. So when I am using my gouge, my left hand, all it's doing is keeping downward pressure, and all the steering is coming from my back arm, which is my right arm. And I want to keep the bevel at as low a cutting angle as I possibly can. So what I tell my students when I have them, that you're going to use the bevel and you're going to be pointing it in the direction you want the cut to go. So use the bevel as your kind of your steering wheel, or your compass, I should say. You should stop frequently and check, see what your progress is. I also recommend double-ended calipers to constantly check your depth. I've still got 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches at the bottom. I got a long way to go. So I am not going to make this bowl super thin. This bowl is going to be made to be used, so I'm going to leave it fairly thick, not this thick, but fairly thick. One of the things I like to do is take the rim and make it slant inward and make it actually fairly long on the inside. I think it gives a nice look, and I'm going to do that here. Check my depth again. Pretty uniform 3/4 inch. Alright, so I'm using my right angle sander rather than my Rotex to sand the inside because it's real hard for the Rotex can't reach on the inside of there. So I use this, and make sure you use some kind of dust protection. This stuff is brutal on your lungs. Alright, it's time to add some finish, and I use General Finish's bowl finish, wood bowl finish. And what I do is I add a fairly liberal coat, and then I use 400 grit wet dry sandpaper, and I will run it with that. Then I wipe off the slurry, and then I add another coat of the finish, I let it sit for a bit, and then I buff it down, and then I'll add wax. Alright, I'm going to let that sit for a bit, and I'm going to put some wax on it. So I've got my Minwax paste finishing wax, and it's the natural color. I do use a dark now and then if I'm using it on some pecan. I think that looks good. But on this, natural is the one to go with. And I put on a fairly thick coat. And then buff it off. And this Bradford Pear, it really finishes well. Like glass, really. Yeah, and I put a nice thick coat on. Alright, crank up the speed. And buff it out. Alright, that looks great. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to put it in my cold jaws, and I'm going to remove the tenon. Okay, once again, the 5/8 bowl gouge, and I'm going to work very slowly on taking this off. Small cuts. Okay, I'm sanding the bottom with a Rotex sander, and I don't sand it all the way up to 400 on the bottom. I only take it up to 220. Let's give it some visual detail. I can use my bidan to do this. Just to make the bottom look a little more interesting, that's all. Now I'll finish sanding. Alright, it's time to add the general bowl finishes to the bottom finish, and all I do is I wipe on a single coat. I don't put any wax on the bottom. This is just a sealing coat, basically. All right, that looks good. I will come back after I've built up a fairly heavy supply of bowls, 10, 12, 15, whatever, and then I'll burn my logo on the bottom with my laser. I don't do them individually. It's just too much of a pain in the neck to set it all up. Okay, that's it. Bradford Pear, again, one of my favorite woods to turn. It just finishes beautifully, and it's just a lovely wood. I just think it's great. All right, that's it for tonight. If you think you've gotten anything out of this, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Also, leave me some comments because I answer every single one. And everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.